Let's go live on YouTube, as I'm ready to start solving problems. Learning programming so easy problems, yay. Then today this is something for you. Please try this. What you sent me is problem C, 1500. Maybe at the end of the stream, Lucifer, we will do something that hard. The plan today is to do very easy problems. Not at Coder ABC, I mean, same difficulty, I guess. The YouTube should be started now. There was Division 3 recently, right? This one. As a warm-up, let's solve like 4 problems from here. What's the difficulty of this one? 1300. The statements are short enough? They are. So the plan first is to do maybe those 4. And then we'll switch to some other Division 3 contest. A begin of 1. Which C++ version supports it? I don't know. I use it for the past 3 years or so. Virtual contest. But then I will be stuck with boring problems too. If something is not interesting, I prefer to skip it. So no virtual contest. I think star shouldn't be in brackets. It should be a begin of 1 and that's it. Just like you don't type, star A and then of 1. Okay, so we start here. Link is there. I put a link to the full contest. I start with this one. Oh, I guess I want to run Genie. Regarding the previous question about AtCoder ABC contests, or ABC contest isn't, it's stupid, it's like saying ATM machine. That's a grammar error. About AB contests on AtCoder. I can do them sometimes. Maybe not the full contest because the difficulty range is too much from A to B, from A to F. Delay between chat and screen, there is always some delay. So I might do a stream, maybe next week. Let's do AtCoder ABC and I would, from 2 contests, solve everything from A to D. Can you take a look at this problem? If it's from Codeforces, then no. No. Skyscrapers. Seems complicated, so no, surely not. Upper bound of today, 1500. So we're doing this. And before I start the first problem, which I am ready to start, a quick add time out of my own classes. I'm starting, or already started with some group classes. I already talked about it a few times. And I have, those are 3-person group classes, and there are a few groups where I have 2 people of the same skill level and I need a 3rd person. So I have 1 empty slot in first, like beginners, like Codeforces 0, let's say, level, where those are people who know some coding, but they never solved a Codeforces problem, or like solved maybe 2 problems in Codeforces of difficulty 800. If you are an absolute beginner, count to my classes. So I have one slot here, one slot for Codeforces group of rating, let's say around 1900. Again, I have two people around that rating. I need a third one for my group classes. And also solving lead code mediums. Same thing, I need a third person. So if you're interested in those, then write to my email. And the cost is $60 per hour. Or if you maybe have a friend who is a beginner in competitive programming, maybe they want to join this first group, where both those people, they know what binary search is, but maybe even they didn't implement it at this kind of level. If you are interested or you know somebody who is interested, let them know. And yeah, add is over. In 100 matches between Eknerwala and Tourist, how many are won by Tourist? I would say around 2/3. So 66 is my guess. Right, now add over. Maybe later I will get back to that. Let's start coding. First problem. 3 cells, A, B, F. Find the length of the shortest path from A to B if you cannot go through F. Alright. Oh, drawings, cool. Most of the time F doesn't hurt. Easier version of this problem would be just say how many moves we need to move from A to B, given coordinates of A and coordinates of B. And this is what's called Manhattan distance. But you don't need to really know this name in order to figure out the solution. The number of steps to the side you need to take is the difference in X coordinate. Like if you go from coordinate 1 to coordinate 5, you will move with 4 steps. Nothing fancy there. We should take absolute difference between X values plus absolute difference between Y values. And that works if F doesn't matter. If we can go in shortest path between A and B. And we have many ways how we can go with shortest path. Also, I want to erase this. Total hours of my classes. Dumb noob, I didn't get your question. Those are weekly classes of 1 hour or hour and a half, and they can last for months. No glasses, drug dealer. Do I look like drug dealer without glasses? I think that's unfortunate because for past a year or so, I was thinking about eye surgery, where with laser they treat your eyes. And the downside will be that people will stop treating me seriously, I guess. I will not look that smart anymore. So let's solve the problem if there is no forbidden cell. For every test case, let's run a function test case. Now what do we do here? There are 2 points x, the point A with coordinates xy and point B with coordinates xy. xb, no, ya. Xb, yb. It's very easy to mess up the order here because of similar words. Glasses superior. Maybe I should then get fake glasses. Only LASIK surgery, exactly. After LASIK surgery, I should get fake glasses in order to still look smart. Answering question about the classes. So usually it's, let's say, weekly class, one lesson a week, one weekly lesson, let's say 1.5 hours. And this costs $85. Like that, it's a bit off if it's longer than 1 hour. So it's $60 per hour, or this. So this times 4, which means you pay what, $3.40 per month, if I'm not mistaken. It will be quite disappointing to be mistaken with such simple math. Contact lenses. I sometimes use contact lenses, but it's something completely different from an eye surgery, obviously. Do we need to know linked list for competitive coding? No. I mean, yes, but in advanced. If you're asking this question, it means you don't need it yet. Absolute difference between x's and between y's. That's a normal answer, and I would put it here if there was no forbidden cell. Now, when can we not go around it? In this case, if f is here between a and b, actually for those a and b, no matter where f is, there will be a way for me to move around it. If not with a path that they've shown, otherwise with this path. So if f is, let's say, here, if this cell is forbidden, still I can do it. No matter where you will put f, I can get to b without going through f. Let's see a bit similar example. What if a is here, but b is there? Then same thing. If f is somewhere in this row, I will move to the right and then up. If f is somewhere in this row, I will go up and then to the right. So always f doesn't hurt, doesn't increase the answer. The below drawing shows where it messes up the answer. That's the case if a and b are in the same column and f is between them, because you cannot go straight to b, you need to make an extra step to the side and then eventually move back to the same column. So you still make the same number of steps down, but there is an extra step to the right and an extra step to the left. And obviously what I said isn't a proof that this is enough, but it seems so. So if they are in the same column or row, obviously, same row or column, answer plus equal to, because we have extra step to the side and back. I don't like the concept of unnatural operation surgeries. On one hand, I understand. On the other hand, modern medicine is amazing. We used to live like 30 to 40 years, and now it's up to 100 or so. So I wouldn't be against medicine, including unnatural operations. But this seems, it's a little bit about fears and ideology, so Codeforces, well, I'm in the wrong directory, but whatever. 4, 5. Did I mess it up? Oh, of course. So I also need to check that f is in between them, and I didn't even read f from the input. Which completely messes up answering test cases, because I read incorrect values. There is xf, yf. By the way, the naming here is very bad. If I was to implement this again, I would go with maybe pairs, a, b, f, and I use a first, b first, and so on. Because right now it's so confusing, and I think it's easier to make a mistake. We want this. Maybe if they are in the same x, Then now if f is in between a and b, and I will handle that with a function, that they are in this order, ya, yf, yb. So if f is in between a, b, then it means you cannot go straight from a to b. And similarly, I can do here, type the same thing for the equality between y's, but let me show you a trick. Then it's better to implement something once and then repeat it. Twice I will repeat the same logic, and between repetitions I will swap coordinates, x and y. The amount type here, the amount typed is kind of the same, but this is easy to type, and here if I later decide to modify anything, I will need to modify it just once. A lot of viewers today? Apparently so. Already we have more than 200. I think it's new record for a standard stream, like live stream solving random problems. More than 200 on Twitch plus more than 100 on YouTube. That's really old. Oh, yeah, function order. One way to implement it is like this, or the other way around. So a smaller than b smaller than c, or the other way around. I just want the middle value to be in between. That's one thing. Notice how that's a very small thing, a very, very small one. But I almost always write inequalities in this order. For me, typing a smaller than b and b smaller than c is easiest not to make a mistake. I can do the same thing, let's say like that, b greater than a and b smaller than c. But in my opinion, this is harder to read. And this is easy to read because it goes in some order. For example, if I want to check that, let's say, a cell is inside a grid. There is a grid with h rows and w columns. Then the way I check it is I check if row is like that, and same for column. The row ID must be from 0 to h minus 1. And I always type it this order. If I want to say not inside, then I will just put exclamation mark between everything. I think you will almost always see exactly this way I type it in my codes. Well, sometimes this would be a function inside that gets row and column. A smaller than b smaller than c. I guess it can be casted in some way. I would expect a compilation error. But also, if something is a Boolean value, then it is false or true, so maybe it can be casted to 0 or 1, to an int. Right, do we have a correct solution? Now, we can eyeball it, and in this case, yeah, it's easy. Apparently this is the same. But also, what I like to do, especially for more complicated outputs, is I can, let's call it out. I can put their output here, and I can diff my output with theirs. For example, like this. I saved my output to file my. Their output is in file out. I can run diff. Nothing was printed. But let's say I have a mistake. Let's say that I messed something up. Now I saved my solution to my and I run diff. It shows me that in, I think, second line, I have 6 instead of 4, or 4 instead of 6. I guess the second number should be here. So I have 4 instead of 6. Doesn't matter in this problem because there are only a few numbers, but if the output is big and it's unique, like there is only one solution, you need to exactly match this output, then diff is useful. A bit shorter version is version not requiring your own file. So let's say you didn't create any files yet. Copy this copy this to out. This is the out you should get. And then in bash you can also type this. This runs your program on input in and takes this, let's say, pretends that it's a file and compares whatever is returned here with out. Is execution time and memory size currently backed in CF? I don't know anything about it. Right, now let's cancel back my mistake here that I made on purpose, and we can submit the first problem today. Did I remove something? I wanted to remove those empty lines. Are you going to do Google Kickstart app solving? Yes, I am going to do that. Moving on. Today I am starting at least with solving here division 3 problems ABCD. Second problem now. Alphabetical strings. And as well I can put info here. So later on YouTube you could easier find it. E is 1500, then maybe we will do 1500 as well. String is alphabetical, if we can obtain it like this. Kickstart app solving. Alright, next week. I can do Kickstart app solving next week. Empty string. Take ith letter of the alphabet and add it at the end or the start. If I understand correctly, then we start with A, then we put B at the beginning or the end. Then C, D, then E, maybe F I want to put here, G, H. From the given string determined if it's alphabetical. It has at most 26 characters. I need to check if A is somewhere in this string. Well, the string shouldn't have any repetitions. And starting from A, always I can find the next character to the left or to the right. Like this is good because there is A, and then A spreads to the sides. B is here, C is there. If it isn't obvious to you how to implement this, if I run A in, it says terminate called. I never faced something like that, so I won't help you. If Google cannot help, then really you're in a bad situation. Always decreasing order and then increasing. No, we can here move both ways. You can do a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right, moving like zigzag. All right. Oh yeah, if you type this, it assumes that A is the executable. Maybe for you it's different. I guess you can go to that directory and see exactly how the executable is called. And first run it without input file. Right. What can we do if we don't know how to code this? This stream today is for people who for whom it isn't obvious how to implement this problem, how to solve this. Right now, after we found ABC, it's okay if D is either here on the right or here on the left, just to the left, right? So we can have some kind of condition. We know right now that ABC spans 0, 1, 2, 3. From 3 to 5, from 3 to 5, in positions 3 to 5. And this should be at 2 or 6, at position 2 or 6. If neither of those positions is D, then this is bad, and we can say that the string is of type no, and we print no, we go to the next test case. If D is there, in this case it is here, the next thing we require is that E is a neighbor. Basically, you need to take the logic that a human would do and be able to phrase it what goes step by step. So step by step we can check what is happening with the next character. So we start with A. Maybe we should find A in this string. Initially it is some position, and then we know that some two other positions are allowed. We can have a B there. Then we go with B, C, and so on. So maybe steps are find A, then for B, C, and so on, check if it's immediately to the right, to right or left. Here, I don't want to type the whole thing down. Somebody suggested brute forcing all 2 to 26 combinations. I guess you can do that, but that's an overkill. This problem should be a challenge for people who don't know why there are 2 to 26 combinations. If you know the solution with 2 to 26, then, well, one thing is that it might be too slow, especially because you need to handle test cases in constant time. Not for every test case iterate over those and compare if that's this string. But if you know this solution, then you don't need my help with this problem. Okay, so that's the spirit. How do we check? How do we know that this should be at 2 or 6? Well, because those are indices surrounding the current interval, 3 to 5. Right? Or you can, another way to think about it is that your program didn't yet check those positions. You know that you already checked A, B, C, and they are here. Then you check two surrounding positions to look for D. If one of them is D, cool. Let's say that D is here. And you say, okay, this is visited as well. Maybe we will mark every position as visited at some point. And then I will look for E, here or there. Notice that what I'm doing now doesn't depend on a particular string. I didn't assume particular string. I just know, well, if I found A, B, C, D, and no matter what's the order, they can be like that. They can be like this. Actually, not like this, because here D cannot be before A. It could be like that. That doesn't matter. Let's say we already checked that. Then I want to ensure that E is, sorry, that's not E, that's E. E is between, not between them, it's surrounding them. Then F and so on. That's some idea. Then I will likely need two variables, indices of this left part and right part. One possibility is to store two indices LR for the leftmost already revealed character and the rightmost. Initially, if I know where A is, so I know that this is A, maybe I should start by saying I have an interval of size 1. So find A, say L is R is position of A. L and R are like left and right. This should be at distance 1 or 3 from A. That's not true, because we can turn back more than once. XYZ not alphabetical, because you need to start with A. You go, the statement here defined that we start with A and then B, C, and so on. So for B, C, check if it's L minus 1 or R plus 1. If so, that's good, and we can move forward, updating the interval. This is how I would say a beginner would figure out the solution. Let's implement it. In the previous problem, I, in a normal way, iterated with a for loop of size t. I repeated something t times because there are t test cases. Here I did something without thinking. During a contest to save few characters, I type this strange thing, and in C++ it also repeats t times. Just it will mess up t. If you here print t or use it in any way, t will be 0 or maybe even -1, one of those two. -1. Okay, test case. First step was to find a. So let's just do that. For n maybe might be helpful. For every character, if this is a, then remember this position, and we can break. We could in some way check if we have multiple a's in this string, but that's not necessary. I think if we can spread from A, then find neighboring B, C, and so on. If we spread to the whole string, it means we found it. We found a good way to create it. You can actually even do while t minus minus greater than 0. Okay. How many years? 10. 10 years. LR I need to create first. I will initialize them as -1, and if they are still -1 here, it means that I didn't find an A. Let me, for convenience here, return true or false. This test case function will return something. If test case, then we print yes, otherwise no. Right, otherwise we spread from here. So for every character, how can I do that? This would be for loop over n characters. I want to skip the first one because I'm skipping a. Now this will repeat n-1 times, from 1 to n-1. The character I need is a plus I. This uses ASCII values and shifts a by proper number of characters. If I just here printed C, I would print characters B, C, D, E, F, and so on. Like first is A plus 1, that's just B. Maybe C is a bad name of a variable, so let's go with letter or something, or next character that we seek. And what then? We want it at position L-1 or R plus 1. This is right now incorrect, but I will fix it. If L-1 is equal next and R plus 1 is not R and or, I just want one of them. If this, then something. Actually, I want to do a different thing. If the previous character is this one we seek, then L minus minus. Because it's like you see here B, so now your interval of revealed characters, A, B, increasing, something increasing, is here from L to R. Else, if to the right we got next, R plus plus. And finally, else, we didn't find the next character, even though we should. But if I went through the full string, and that's guaranteed because of the number of characters I want to match. I started with A, then I go B, C, D. For example, if n was 4, then here I would iterate over characters B, C, D. If I find each of them, it means that there is no space in the string for extra characters, like double A. So this is it. And I said that that's wrong, and because of indices. Whenever you see index -1 or index +1, you should be careful. Because L might be 0. And what's enough here to do is to say L is not 0 or L is greater or equal 1. Because only in this case you should look at the previous character. This line says in English, we would say if character to the left of this interval is next. Right? This is what we would say in English. Yeah, but in particular, if the interval starts at position 0, there is no character to the left, and it's not that there we find the proper character. No, instead we do this. And same goes there. If R is not the very last position of the sequence, and the next character is next, then we expand the interval to the right. Otherwise, we didn't find the next character. F9 got me quite a lot of mistakes. I guess that I didn't comment something out. Yeah, this thing. I'm right now in Genie, and I compile with just a button F9. They are defined somewhere here. If you want to copy my setup, there is a video for that on YouTube. Okay, use something like YouTube Eric to setup. Yeah, you will find it there. But it's not that this setup is better than others. How you would use scan for string? You cannot use scan for a string. I would need to read character by character, or sometimes I do this with scan. Whatever the limit is, let's say 1 million. If you use scanf, you can have this in your code. Static means that it's created once, like a global array. So you can run this function million times, and the complexity isn't million times million. Almost always this function works. Recently, if I need to read with scanf a string, I do this. Build time is so fast. I don't know. Fast PC, I guess. On weak laptops, indeed, it takes a bit more than a second. Here it should take below 1 second. I guess around a second it takes. If n was 0, it would still check the next condition. That's not true. If L is 0, then already when program checks this condition, it figures out that it's false, and it knows that already the whole thing is false. It's enough to verify that. And then program doesn't run whatever is typed here. Or if you call a function f isn't called if L is 0. This is called in programming lazy evaluation, I think. And it is very convenient. Yep, it is lazy evaluation. I'm solving B and others are discussing E. Well, some people are for sure bored with such an easy problem. It's called short-circuiting. Okay, I thought that this is lazy evaluation, and of course some languages maybe do not have lazy evaluation. Alright, time to test this. Again, I will copy the input, save it in an input file for convenience, so I could easily a few times run it. And what? I see, I'm running a bad file, B. I ran the previous program, A. 5 yeses, 5 yeses, and 6 no's. If the output was more complicated, like yes, no, no, yes, 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 no, yes, no, I could again copy this output and compare the two files with diff. But I don't think that's needed. B was harder than usual. I would even say that this A is harder than division 3A should be, but we can argue about that. Like ABC, AtCoder has beginner contests called AtCoder ABC, and there problem A is more like you are given two numbers x, y, say which one is bigger, and print first or second or tie. First, second, tie. One might argue that this should be a beginner problem. Imagine a school kid who just learned programming, then this is a good problem where they can practice some if statements. While Codeforces, apparently even in division 3, A is supposed to be some kind of brain teaser. Like you need to here figure it out. In particular, problem A is not easier than, I don't know, math problems in school, right? Is it that easy to figure out that you should add 2? The implementation for A was way more complicated than it should be for A. Yeah, actually, I don't like that A. What's this implementation? Does the tutorial show us something better? Come on. This shouldn't be A. It's okay to use this as division 2A, not division 3A. Quake terminal is very convenient. Yes, it is. This is called Quake. If you want to install it on Linux, or at least Ubuntu. Lazy delays evaluation. Short circuit. Oh, so what? This if condition, like that. This I cannot call this lazy evaluation because lazy evaluation suggests that this will eventually be computed as well. I see. Why is there division 3A? Somebody suggested in the chat. Division 3A with 1300. I'm scared. Explain your logic for B. All right, let's explain my logic again here and move on. It's funny that people know what software I use and now it's not explain it with drawings but explain it in OneNote. Add underscore character before and after. Yeah, that's some way to do it. I think this is usually called sentinels. Okay, what was the logic for this problem B? And then we move on to problem C. First, I find where character A is. Actually, it's first occurrence. If there are many, still I stop at first. Let's say here I found A. Then I remember the index. This is index 2, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I say L is R is 2. LR means that right now I have interval of revealed characters from 2 to 2. This is, let's say that this interval is in blue. Right now it's like this. Repeatedly for characters B, C, D, up to however many characters I should have here. In this case, there is what, 8? What's the 8th character of the alphabet? F, G, H. I think H. And I do it with a for loop. From B to H, I check if B is just to the left of blue interval or just to the right. So those two positions, I check, hey, is there B? No? Okay, what about you? Is there B? Yes? That's great. I expand my interval. Now it's from 2 to 3. So to do that, I did R++. Now my interval is from 2 to 3. Okay, B handled. Now C. I check if C is here. Oh, it is here. That's great. I take you. So that required L-. So it means that the code should have something like if s of l minus 1 is equal to this next character that I need, then l minus minus. And then I don't even check if c is here, because that's not legal to have a character in both places. So I just repeat that, and that's incorrect, is it? Oh, I return false in this case. All right. So if I didn't find it on the left or on the right, I return false. Otherwise, at the end, if I got to h and I found h, it means I filled all n positions. So if I got to h without trouble being that neither left or right I see this character that should be, then if I get to the end, it means, yeah, this is a good string. I'm rated 3000, but after seeing 1300, I'm scared. Yes, but you shouldn't see 1300 as division 3a, should you? You can run this one-liner. But I don't want to use what's in my clipboard. Many people, regarding the testing now, when you have, I saw this many times, especially in ICPC, that hurts a lot. Whenever somebody wants to test it again, even without terminal legwake, they run their program. With F5 you can do it usually. You can, that didn't work. No, because it closes immediately for me. Well, let's say I didn't save to a file, I run B, I copy paste. Again, what's wrong? Am I copying? Yes, I've opened the wrong problem. That's the reason. Will it then work here as well? Cool, it works. So I copied something, I got the outputs, that's great. But now if I close it, I do something, maybe I move my code around, I copy some if, I do it here, and now I lost my save file. I mean, I lost my clipboard. I need to go to the statement again, which isn't always as easy as hitting Alt-Tab. Now copying it again. That's a waste of time. Unless it's a very easy problem and I know that I will get it right the first time, like 90% of the time, then the very first thing I do, maybe not always the very first thing, is that I save it to an input file. And then I can many times make a correction and run it just by hitting arrow up, enter. Create tests. I mean, create files. Files also allow you to create your own test cases and save them. Like, you shouldn't just by hand type the same thing again and again, because then there will be a problem where you struggle and you try some solution for half an hour, you keep improvements, you run again, and in total you will waste 5 minutes. How are the problem difficulty ratings decided? It's some heuristic chosen by Mike Mirzayanov, depending on the number of people who solve it, maybe how quickly they solve it. But also he can overwrite this heuristic. He can himself assign it. Moving on, problem C. And before I do that, again, add time, because I really want to complete my groups. I'm starting 3-person group classes. I should have once prepared this slide and keep showing you. This is the price, $60 per hour per person, and I have one slot available, one last slot for Codeforces very beginners, like solving problems of rating 800 or so. Like, if you're just starting with Codeforces, you know nothing about competitive programming, I have one slot in this group. I already have 2 other guys. Then Codeforces rating 1900, I need 1 person. And if you want to practice solving LeetCode mediums. If you already know, if you are efficient at LeetCode mediums and you want to practice hards, this is not a group for you. I'm not going to now start any other groups. For each of those, I have 2 people and I need a 3rd one. Hydrate. Good go. Can't I join later? Whenever you want to join, you can write to me and we'll see then. And if you're interested and you want to join, this is my email. How do you decide the topics for Codeforces 1900? One thing is I can do it per request from a student, and second is, well, we solve problems above rating 1900, those problems that they struggle with. So I don't know, ratings 2100 or so, and then we need topics that can be encountered in those problems. Recording of those class. I'm not planning to record those. Why don't you do Codeforces rounds so often? I don't often have time and motivation. Sometimes I do them. Right now, like you noticed for sure, I do a lot of streams. And I guess I can argue that more people will watch me, like will gain something from it if it's a live stream rather than a recording of a contest. So really, I help 1,000 people, let's say, with a live stream versus I can participate. Sure, that's cool. I still sometimes participate. Classes for newbies. Nothing to practice LeetCode easy. So if you want to practice LeetCode mediums, which already means that you're familiar with easies, or if you want to practice Codeforces. If you are a newbie, this is like Codeforces 0/800. If you are a newbie, you might want to join this class, and we will learn things like implementing DFS. So implementing DFS. Okay, or down the line maybe also Dijkstra, or more complicated stuff. This is inter-platform. Codeforces and LeetCode will not differ that much for that easy problems. If you want LeetCode easy, this will be the same thing. We will anyway mainly talk about algorithms and implement them. If you can think of logic and cannot implement, maybe you need to practice coding easier problems. Can LeetCode medium start Google internship? Yes. Where I got the background? I don't know. I don't remember. It was in Polish eBay, Allegro. How to do better at implementation, practice implementation. Course for interview prep, maybe one day. Right, time to solve problems. Problem C. No. Looking at the statement, I want to skip it. Chat, tell me if this is worth it. LeetCode medium is Codeforces 1500. I want to say lower than that. I think that mediums are around 1300. Skip? Cool. And you see, if it was a virtual contest, I wouldn't be able to skip. D. D, okay? One hour lesson how it works. Are you in the class with 3 other students? I'm in the class with 3 students. It's online. There are 3 students, so you and 2 others. And you know, it's a mix of me explaining some algorithm, you trying to solve it, you trying to maybe implement it for 10 minutes, me talking about this code. My style of explanation you know from live streams. So this, but with interaction with you. Okay. This good said half the people in the chat. That's good enough. Let's do it. Sequence is growing. If every next number is like over mask of the previous number, did I get it right? Or in other words, I think every previous number is a submask. For example, first number, if we pad with zeros, is this in their example. Then this is second number, third number, and like fourth could be this. Well, that's longer, but doesn't matter. Every next number is an over mask, if that's a word. Super mask. Okay, super mask. So every next number is a super mask. That's right. And consider two sequences. We XOR corresponding elements and we want the resulting sequence to be growing. Find the lexicographically minimal sequence Y. Can two consecutive numbers be equal? Yes, they can be equal. I get some numbers and I need to modify them. The link command is like that, exclamation mark link, and we're solving D from that contest. Supermask is, maybe first submask. When you have a mask with some bits on, then okay. For this mask, one of many submasks is, let's say, this. This is submask of previous mask. Submask is where bits that are on are a subset of that set of bits. Right? So if there is 1 somewhere here, then you can have a 1, you don't need it. But if there was 0, there is 0 here as well. Now, this is not a submask. There is some different bit on. This is a submask. Supermask is the opposite. Supermask is where you take something and now you can turn some more bits on, but that's it. So supermask is opposite of submask. If X is submask of Y, if and only if Y is supermask of X. So that's some notation. And then lexicographically smaller, lexicographically minimal. Whenever you have this in the statement, it means that first of all, minimize the first element. If you wanted to find lexicographically minimal string, then if possible, the first character should be minimized. If possible, the first character should be A. It's like 99% of the time when you see this, you should first look at the first element and you should try to make it small. Maybe more like 80% of the time, not 99. What is submask and supermask? Submask is where the same bits are on, or a bit fewer than that. You can turn some bits off. Supermask is the opposite. Submask is like subset, but for bits that are on. You have to check if one is a submask. there is a way, but for now this is not important for us. Everything I said so far is math, not coding. We don't care how to code it. We care about the solution. Then if we need that in code, we can think how to do it exactly. Maybe we will need to iterate over bits. But I think they said here, this is how you can check it. So you can type in C++ AI and AI plus 1. I don't know if we need brackets is equal AI. Apparently this is how you check. And to understand that, you need to analyze how bitwise AND works. And as I said, lexicographically minimal means that we should first minimize the first number, first element of sequence Y. We get X, no matter what X is, there will be some kind of X of 0, X of 1, X, or let's say this is sequence X. This is A, B, C, D, E, F. Can I XOR A with 0 and get a growing sequence? I can. So the result is that I will get here A, because this sequence, if I properly put the rest of sequence Y, this sequence will be growing. I can match those properly. So then, after I will choose the first element of Y as 0. That's lexicographically minimal, and indeed, every output here starts with a 0. So that confirms what I noticed on, let's say, paper. I would normally do this with pen and paper, not in my editor. What about the next element? Can I put 0 here? Not necessarily, because maybe AB isn't a good growing sequence. So I need to XOR it with something. With something as small as possible, in order to here get an element that is a supermask of A. How can we do it? Most likely we need to look at binary representation of A and B. Let's say that A is this. B is something that's not by default a supermask of A. But let's say it's this. So from 1 we can get to 0, from 0 to 1 here. This has a variety of stuff. Let's even shorten this a little bit for convenience. Now, how I want to modify B, so it would be a supermask of A. Let's call it B prime. This will be new value of A of B. Well, I need to here use ones. Right? I want to have supermask of that. So here there will be something, but for sure in a supermask of A I need to have ones on those positions. And then there is whatever here. If there is whatever, and anyway B prime will be supermask of A, then I want to minimize the value by which I XOR. So if there is 1 here in B, if possible I want to XOR with 0, because that's easier, that will minimize the value by which I XOR. So there I will just put those values, not to modify them. B prime is the new value of B after XORing. What are A and B? We have a sequence X given in the input, and I assume that first element is A, second B. Or I call them like that. If this is B, then I wonder what will be the second element in the co-growing sequence that we create by XORing corresponding elements. Here. The Y, by which I XOR, for sure I already know that I need 1, 1 here and 0, because from this prefix of B I need to get B prime. And then I need to XOR B with this. Then there will be something. Then from 0 to create 1 I need 1, then something. And because I minimize Y's, those dots I will replace with zeros, because I don't care what they will be. Remember, going from left to right to get lexicographically minimal sequence, you minimize every next value. So here, if you need y to be element of this form, this pattern, where every dot is any character, any digit, then you want those digits to be 0. Then y will be as small as possible. And this is how we got y. And from this we can get what b prime is. That's b XOR y. Because I put zeros here, this just I rewrite that part of b. Like that. I have b prime. So I know what is this question mark. So I know this value. Let's say exclamation mark will say I know it. I know value in y, it's here. I know new value of x. So after cogrowing, this cogrowing sequence is XOR of this sequence with x, sequence x with sequence y. This is the cogrowing sequence. I know this exclamation mark, and now I need to look at two next values and I apply the same logic. Just like I knew what was there before, was a, now there is some guy here, a previous element, and I know it, and I need to be a supermask of them. So from that, I know where I need to have ones and where I don't care. This is an example of a problem where explaining a solution like this is one part, and coding it while explaining is maybe even more beneficial to understand. So let's do at least some part of the code. And then maybe I will get back to explaining this. Let me just copy paste the main. Well, maybe I should do it from A, because in B I printed yes or no for every test case. Function test case, what do we need? We read sequence A. Read length n, read A. I made a typo. No. I explained why the first number in the output is 0, because we minimize it and that's fine. So let's see, that's not called A, that's called X. Then there will be Y, and there will be cogrowing or something like that. I don't even need cogrowing, I will just keep understanding what Y is. First element of Y is 0, and I don't even need to type that because by default in vector it's all filled with zeros. Congrats to me for securing second in lead code. Second in lead code isn't a big achievement. Second in Codeforces is. Lead code is easier. Alright. So this I don't even need to type. I will leave it as a comment. But then for every position starting from position 1, so for every element other than the first one, A will be like, this previous cogrowing value. That's xi minus 1 XOR y minus 1. This is the previous value in sequence that I want to be cogrowing. So now I need what? Xi XOR yi should be supermask of A. Yep. Can I fit the statement? I can. Okay, then it means that some bits need to be on in this XOR thing. I will go first bit by bit. Values are up to 10 to 30, so there are 30 positions. If I need to be supermask of A. If A ends this, so if this bit on position bit is on, then I also need to have this on. So in this number, this bit needs to be on as well. So if I has this bit on, then I need this bit on. If what I'm doing now isn't obvious to you, you can read, well, of course, any article, but also there is my video on bitwise operations, like XOR, all that stuff, with some, I guess, code examples. Did I do code examples? I hope so. I guess I do. There's the code examples. For a lot of stuff, where if you watch my live stream and you aren't sure about something, try to find it on my YouTube channel. Yeah, you're right. You're right, Itarin. If x starts with a 0, let's say, then, and in XOR of them I want to have a 1, then I need to XOR with a 1. You're right. So if this is 0, if x doesn't have this bit, I need this bit, so y needs to give me 1. Right, that's it. And all the remaining positions, we figured that we can leave empty in y because we minimize y. And I think we are done. This is D. Assert r equal to 0. I see what I did wrong. I implemented in file C because we skipped C and I just took that file. 137.1032.2014. Passes samples. Maybe before submission, quick look if we don't have any overflows. That shouldn't be an issue. We only operate with bits up to 30. At no point we will create something bigger than 2 to the 30th power. And time complexity is obvious. Like it's n times 30. We have 2 nested for loops and inside all operations are constant. So n log value. N times log of value. Let's call it value. Values of x. Accepted. With non-trivial running time of half a second. I guess we can do better here. We can try. This one, please. I think I want to look at E, and then I will consider your problem, Lucifer. Can we do this in constant type here inside, constant time, by using bitwise operations? I see where bits are on in A, and only those I care about. This might be important. In those where there is A, I look where X is on. But I should negate X. Is this how you can do negation? Am I right? So this will be where I have zeros in X. So where I have ones in A and I have zeros in X, I want to put ones in Y. So my column was missing. Okay, cool. It's now linear. This says I want a number where ones are only where there is a 1 in A and 0 in xi, because this is exactly what I'm looking for here. Only in those positions I want a 1 in y. The complexity before was n times 30. I said log of value because this 30 comes from log of value. I could instead grab some max logarithm of x, but right now it's linear. You can submit this too. Oh, I know why the time is big. Because I'm reading with sin and cout. What are the two magical lines? I was surprised that n times 30 was that slow. Yeah, the reading was slow. This shouldn't be a significant speedup. Sin and cout are slow. If you have hundreds of thousands of tokens in the input or in the output, you should use scanf and print, or you should add those two lines that will speed up sin cout. Don't do both. This thing messes up combining sin with scanf. That was problem D. I will at least look at problem E, but I wanted this string to be easy, so not necessarily I will solve. Not L, E. Should I think about bitwise operations or just do the trivial solution in the contest? During the contest, do the simplest solution you can think of course. While practicing, you can think about various solutions. In contest, do the simplest thing possible. If you see a solution that will pass, that is fast enough, then that's a good solution. Unless it seems very complicated to implement, then maybe spend some more time before implementing and think about an easier solution. There are air conditioners in some positions. And they are set to temperatures. And there is formula to find temperature for a cell. I already know what this formula implies, but I will try not to cheat. You need to find temperature in every cell. All right. During a contest, I would expect a beginner to spend some time trying to understand what this formula means in practice, not just... You can understand the formula and still not see what actually it means. There is some example. You can, of course, follow it if it helps. But what do we have? I need one node for that. Temperature plus the distance. Right? Yeah. If there is air conditioner in this cell with value 10, then it means that it brings the value down in this cell to 10, in neighboring cells to 11, then here to 12, 13, and so on. maybe this is a good simple exercise at the beginning of this contest to understand how a single air conditioner would work, what temperature it would produce in every cell, and so on. But let's say there is here another air conditioner with value, I don't know, 11. Then this one, the green one, let's say, it puts the temperature down to 11 here in this cell, down to 12 here, down to 13 here, down to 14 there, 15, 16, and so on, 17, 18, and to the right it's down to 12, down to 13. This air conditioner sets the temperature basically up to this point. Like we will use minimum in every cell of values set by various temperature, various air conditioners. So the 10 guy will be used here on the left of this split point, and 11 will be used here in the right part. The answer sequence is from here 14, 13, then 12, 11, 10, 11, 12, 13, then this guy 13, 12, 11. And here I used the bigger font. There you go. That's the output. It's easiest to see if they are equal values, like 10 and 10, that they will split exactly in the middle. If not, it will not be exactly in the middle between them. But it seems intuitive that each of them will get some area where this one will set the minimum. And too far away to the right, 10 will not set the temperature. Unless really this is 10 and this is like 50, then everywhere 10 will set the minimum. This might give you an idea that in your solution you should, for every air conditioner, say, find what is the range where it operates, where it will set the temperature. In this case, 10 is up to there, 11 up to here. That doesn't mean that 10 is the temperature you should print. 10 is the temperature you should use from the formula. So 10 plus the distance. So like here goes 12. The problem was that we are given n conditioners, and the number of them is like 300,000, so we cannot go n squared, by the way. We need to be around linear. I wanted one note, not code. So this is incorrect because it's simplified, but one solution then. You have some conditioners, let's say they are sorted from left to right. For each two consecutive air conditioners, with some formula, you will figure out where they split the area. So where each of them is more important. Maybe like this, where this one operates on this range. That isn't entirely correct because sometimes one air conditioner will be much lower than the other, and maybe this one will actually get the whole area like this. That happens, for example, if this is 10 and this is 20. Because 10, the distance between them is just 4. That's smaller than the difference between those two values. Because of that, no matter which cell you look at, this cell, this one, 10 plus distance will be smaller than 20 plus the distance. In this case, this x is kind of destroyed. We forget about it. How many questions one should solve each day to become better at competitive programming? There isn't a particular number. But if you practice well and you spend... wait, I will ask better. One. I think solving one problem a day will make you better, but then again, define better. If you want to get good, spend 10 hours a week at least. But that doesn't mean that if you spend that time you will become one of the best. Why are you splitting the array? So I'm not literally splitting, like grabbing, say this array is there, so anything like that. I don't create new shorter arrays. I just say every air conditioner on which range it will operate, and it will be important for the answer. Because for every cell the temperature is minimum out of values produced here but by every air conditioner. Again, wrong window. So if this is 20 here, this is maybe, I don't know, 13, then 10 will set temperatures there, and 13 will set temperatures here. The split point in between will depend on the relative values of those. I guess we can compute it with formula like I minus 10, no, I minus position of 10, position 1, plus 10 is equal to 13 plus position of 13 minus I. For every I in between, this is formula for this left air conditioner, what temperature will be set to by this air conditioner. For the right guy, 13 plus the distance, so position of 13 minus I, that will be it. And from this you will get what I is, maybe first 2I is, I moved I to the left, 3 plus position 1 plus position 2. So I equal to this divided by 2, which might be non-integer. For this thing, left and right air conditioner produces the same value. So if this I is non-integer, like let's say here we get 5.5, then it means up to here left conditioner is important, from here the right one. If I is integer, then it means that here they have a tie. So no matter what you say, you can say that the left air conditioner hits here up to there, the right one up to there only. But if you switch a little bit, it doesn't hurt. If you say the right one gets the tie, whatever. It's a bit like saying, like you look at a map and you have some shops. And you say every customer, what am I saying? Customer, okay. Say every customer goes to the nearest shop. Then this guy will go to the left, but this guy would go wherever. If you care about his distance to the not furthest, to the closest shop, you can say that he goes left, you can say that he goes right, whatever. Every shop will get some range of customers. And normally if shop has no other value, like they don't differ from each other, the split will be exactly in the middle between two shops. This problem is a little bit similar, but one air conditioner can be a little bit better and it can grab a bigger range. Alright, so a shop should be deleted if it's strictly worse than some other shop, which means that like the difference of two values, like I said, I think with 10 and 20. 20 is bad and should be removed because the difference between values is bigger than the difference in positions. Position 2 minus position 1. Okay, that's various observations that I wanted to show you. More streams on division 3. I will see what I can do about that. But you know, at every difficulty, people want those. I'm aware actually. Oh, an error occurred on YouTube. Am I live? I'm aware that more people want division 3 content, but I am also aware that other YouTubers and just content creators can do division 3 streams as well. Well, I'm one of few who can do division 1. So that's an argument to do division 1. Why did I skip C? Because it was boring. Clash of code. We'll see. Okay, so I did all those observations, and now I will not implement the solution. I'm sure that the editorial has the solution. One last thing I will tell you is that this can be quite conveniently implemented with a stack. But really, I would say that it's not the best educational problem. If you don't see how to implement it with a stack, you would first need to solve other problems like this one. Are there problems where you can where you can practice this? Good question. Maybe you should practice this one. Given a sequence, for every element, find previous bigger value. And I believe that you will find this problem on LeetCode. Let me see. Next greater element. But it's with some extra stuff, so that's not it. Yeah, I don't know. I will not give you any helpful link right now. But if you know what I'm talking about here with a stack, you should be able to implement this problem. If not, then you will have a hard time. One last thing I want to say, so next greater element or previous greater element. One last thing I want to say here is that there is a nice visual interpretation. And this is what I described when at the very beginning I said I know what this formula implies. Plan for posting short algo video. I don't want to promise anything, so let's just assume that nope. If this is position, like I goes here, and the value or temperature goes there, if there is air conditioner at some position with some temperature, for the previous position it implies temperature greater by 1 than this, then by 2, by 3, and so on. So it goes like that. In general, we can draw a function. One air conditioner would cause this temperature. Now another air conditioner might cause this temperature. Another one, maybe this temperature. And the solution that you need to print is the minimum out of those functions, so the bottom side of the drawing. This problem is in some way like convex hull, just simpler. And some air conditioners might be useless. I will now draw a red one that is useless. Say here. This is the case where this is completely covered by a blue interval, by a blue air conditioner. Red is never better than blue. This is the case where the difference between values is greater than the difference between positions. We can have multiple air conditioners like that. Still, the minimum out of everything, for every cell, if we look, if for this cell, for this eye, we look at the temperature there, we just want to know what's the minimum. Okay? So the solution is this part of the drawing. This interpretation is not needed in this problem, but it might get useful in more difficult problems. That was it. No implementation from me. I guess go follow the editorial. Why are you drawing like V? Because that's what the statement said. If I did that, like here with the first point, if at one position I have a temperature, then on one position to the left I have temperature bigger by 1. Just draw yourself what happens when there is just one air conditioner. If it is at temperature, say 10, then just to the left and just to the right of it, there is temperature 11, then 12, 13, and so on. So yeah, a V shape. Now that we're done with this, I will finally check out the problem that Lucifer suggested multiple times. Implement simply by moving from left to right. Yeah, and you need to then same thing in reverse. Okay, I see. I agree, that's an easy implementation. How does drawing graphs help us? It can help us understand the nature of a problem. So from this, you might, without some observations that we did, from just a drawing, you can understand that some air conditioners become irrelevant. And maybe we should go from left to right and maintain this shape. The drawing might exactly say what's the solution. What Gupta said a few comments ago is indeed an easy solution. I thought that this is more complicated than that. I thought about a solution that would just once go from left to right and wouldn't go then back in reverse, and that requires a stack, which is quite complicated. Gupta's solution is simpler. Still, let me skip it, and I want to read problem by Lucifer. And that's it for today. Solved it 2 minutes after the contest. That must hurt. So what is this? A common and strange sort. This is again a little bit too difficult, but I will read it. Problem F2. I don't know, I wanted to finish by now. N numbers in a row, or actually N people with t-shirts. Choose 2 adjacent friends and swap them. Okay. I don't want to think about this problem. There is nothing I can say just after reading it. You need to draw some examples, see how all of this behaves. This is not a good problem for today's stream. So, no, sorry, I'm skipping this one. It's a problem that's very hard to do without drawing even the sample test and seeing what are the swaps there and trying to understand something from that. Where I learned submask and supermask. I don't know if I covered it there, but you should start from my YouTube lecture on bitwise operations. Please solve D from that round. From this round? No, too difficult. Alright, that's it for today. One last time, if I have this slide. I'm doing 3-person group classes. The price is $60 per hour, and I have 1 slot left in 3 various groups, and I don't want to start other groups now, so only if you match this description. If you're at 0 level, kind of, only some coding, like you heard about binary search, for example, but maybe you would struggle implementing it or implementing DFS, then I have 1 group for absolute beginners. I have 1 group for Codeforces rating around 1900. So if you have around that rating, you're good. And 1 group where we will practice LeetCode medium problems. So if you can solve easy, usually, but you can solve medium, usually, then that's free. If you're interested, or you have a friend who's interested, you can reach me via this email. I'm looking tired. It's this weather, man. Really, when it's more than 30 degrees Celsius, I think I'm always look tired. Now, at the end of my stream, at least it's not that hot. Up to around, I start a stream at 6 p.m. and then it's the end of, I don't know, hot time. At 8 p.m. it's okay. Where do I live? Warsaw, Poland. Thank you all for watching. Classes on Zoom, Google Meet. But that shouldn't really matter. You can as well assume that it's on Zoom. Hydrate. One last time, sure. Anybody streaming? Nope. Solved Q4 on LeetCode. Congrats. Especially if it's your first time. Email looks cool. I don't think it looks cool. It's standard email. Okay. Next week, I might do one day Google Kickstart. See the calendar. If you're watching on YouTube, link to the calendar is in the description. And have a nice evening or a day, depending on your time zone. Bye bye. No, I don't study. Crash on me.